Welcome back, everybody. I hope that your week has begun well. I hope you had a good Labor Day. I hope that on Labor Day you were able to rest from some labor, or did labor perhaps that you wanted to do, not that you had to do. That said, I also hope that you were able to tune in to our Sunday worship service, either showing up in person or watching it online. And if you haven't, maybe I'll mention something today that'll make you want to go back and visit that service that was on Sunday. I spoke during the sermon about a very short passage in the Gospel of Luke where Jesus instructs by beginning to offer comfort for the mistakes that we will inevitably make, but cautioning against causing others to make mistakes, to step wrongly, let us say. He first, I would say, very severely reprimands those who lay traps and snares, those who know better, and who intentionally mislead those who just basically rely on grace, the poor and the poor in spirit. Now, Luke uses the word poor. The Gospel of Matthew says poor in spirit. They are both referring to people that have to work more hours than probably exist in a day to simply get by, to live, to eke out a bare existence. Jesus is speaking about them, and it's clear throughout the Gospels that there is a special place for these people. These persons don't have the time and the energy to discern some of those other considerations that the scribal class or the teachers of the law are discussing and talking about amongst themselves. So they can't really afford to walk perfectly. They just have to cut corners when they can cut corners because time's a wasting. We know that phrase all too well. So Jesus is bringing attention to these people and also calling out those who have taken advantage of the poor in spirit. The rich landowners perhaps at the time that were going to find a way to extract as much labor as they could from them without giving them due compensation that would allow them to care for their family and provide basic needs. That is a first target. But the second part, and I think this is where maybe many of us are held accountable, or perhaps we are drawn into a deeper awareness of what this passage can mean. Jesus says to the disciples to be on guard, to be mindful, to be aware of how you live, what you teach, and how you influence others, because you can unintentionally lead people down pathways that are harmful to them and to their communities. You can, without knowing it, have a tremendously negative impact on people. Not because you set out to do it, but because you weren't being as mindful as you might have been about what you were saying or doing. Some of us have enough privilege, power, agency, a platform in the world that allows us to have impact, to have influence, and we want that. As a community of faith, we want to be able to impact the world in a positive, transformative way. However, the responsibility that comes with having that ability or that capacity is that you have to be very mindful, very faithful in your application of the teaching or your enactment of your understanding of the gospel, because people are looking to you as an example for guidance. And if you act in one way here and they see that, and then the way that they see you acting, they carry out, and it has some pretty disastrous results for them, well, then you're held accountable for that, right? You are, let us say, called to give an account before the one before whom we all have to give account. And I think that is humbling. We sometimes underestimate the impact we have. We, of course, know it within our families. We know that our kids are watching us, but we don't often think about the way the world is viewing us. Many of us, perhaps, and me included, don't give that much thought. I'm like, does anybody really care what we're doing over here? I mean, we're just trying to do the best we can. But I think we underestimate the reach that our message and our practice has. I think we underestimate the impact that some of our givings have, the decisions we make around governance, the use of our campus here at First St. Andrews, the way the United Church makes decisions to lean boldly and deeply into justice and prophetic witness. These are all decisions that we make on a daily basis that have profound consequences, some of which we don't intend, which is why I hope and pray that we take a lesson from this passage to not refuse to act boldly. We are called to act boldly, but to really be intentional, to not just go through our day doing what we were told to do or doing what we've received, but really critically examining how we've operated, how we've lived, how we've acted, how we've taught, and to take stock of some of the other perspectives that have come to us that might very well indict some of those teachings, right? This is where what we call the post-colonial or decolonial insights come in. When peoples who have been made to feel less than, or who have been alienated from some of our practices, not just because of their ethnic or cultural identity, but because of their sexual orientation or their gender expression, their ability, differently abled persons, there are large groups of people, large numbers of people, who may have felt isolated from our decision as a church, as the body of Christ. And that's where we're called to take a lesson and to learn and be more mindful and intentional. As you can imagine, we're trying to do that here, but I encourage you to do it in your own life so that together we can build each other up and become the intentional, compassionate, and extravagantly hospitable body of Christ, which is what we are called to be in the world. Not perfect. Jesus says in the very first verse, you're going to make mistakes, but be mindful, be intentional, be compassionate in all that you do. So I hope you can take some of that this week. I look forward to seeing you this Sunday, and I look forward to seeing you next week for another postscript. Thank you.